a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Alex Lima here with BlackBelt Fitness and Martial Arts, filling in for your consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. You know what we do here, per the usual. We bring you amazing guests to try to educate you, inform you, keep you in the know, keep you in the why and how as well. We're going to use all those adjectives, right? Today, we got a stellar lineup per the usual. We got Michael Emdy, massive IT. I love talking tech with this guy. We're going to talk about the weaponization of technology. Emails nowadays, friend or foe? I guess we'll find out when we talk to Michael Emdy. And then we have a good buddy of mine coming on the show. I love, he's going to see if he can, I think he's going to try to hypnotize me today live on the radio. I don't know. We have a psychologist, Dr. Scott Anderson, talking to us about sharethelovecharities.org and all the cool stuff he has going on. He's always a great talk as well. So, but before we get started, per the usual, we're going to hit you up with some of the properties available from the Platinum MVP team over at Keller Williams, provided to you by Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes. We have 5121 40th Avenue North in St. Pete. Really cool little property, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,062 square feet, sitting on just about a quarter acre that's surrounded by oak trees, spacious living room and kitchen, primary bedrooms located upstairs, got a nice enclosed back patio, perfect for dining al fresco. When's the last time you dined al fresco, Michael?
Last night.
Wow, I like it. So this might be a spot you might be interested in. So we'll ask Massive IT about alfresco dining as well, because I haven't done it in a while. So newly refinished hardwood floors that flow throughout the home. Got a front porch that stretches nearly the entire length of the second story. So beautiful home at 5121 40th Avenue North in St. Pete, Florida. Another property we would like to showcase for you today is 221 Howard Drive in beautiful Bel Air Beach, Florida. 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 3,463 square feet. It's an exclusive Bel Air Beach location. That's right, exclusive Bel Air Beach location. Gorgeous 3-island kitchen with Thermador appliances, saltwater pool. Like I've said, good for the muscles, good for the joints, flotation. Saltwater pools are awesome. Got 100 linear feet of waterfront right there sitting on the deep water. And historic Howard Drive boasts one of the highest land elevations in the area. So not doing too bad if it does start to rain there in the area. 221 Howard Drive, Bel Air Beach, Florida. You can see all of the properties available from the Platinum MVP team at platinummvpteam.kw.com. Michael MD, welcome. How's it going, man?
Fantastic. Thanks.
So how's life treating the tech space?
Busy.
I bet.
Definitely busy. A lot of migrations, implementations, security consultings, threats and breaches that we're having to deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah. What does a typical day look like for you? Like when you come into the office, and like what do you got to handle once you walk in? You just know you're coming into a tech storm once you walk in.
Well, a day in the life of an MSP is unpredictable. Anything could happen at any time, right? You might have a low day or a slow day that you think is slow, and then minutes later you have a customer who's on fire because they had a data breach, and they come to us typically saying, hey, we know we're not a customer, we know you don't know who we are, but we just got breached, we have no idea what to do, hair on fire, help. Yeah. Right? That happens. It's starting to happen a little more frequently.
Yeah, you've seen it. The stuff going on a little bit more, people playing with the technology, and preparation is always key for everything. It's better to preventative maintenance. Let's put some stop loss, blocks in place, some barricades in place before there's an issue. But that's not how life works, right? As far as clients they come in after it's already hit the fan, and now we got to mess with. And I bet there's many times where it's a simple fix. You can do something very simple when someone calls you, and then there's other times where it's incredibly complex, and you got to break down that, like, hey guys, this is a lot more work than what you're anticipating.
Yeah. I would say most of the support is simple fixes, day-to-day routine things, right? Easy things to knock out that people just need help with. But in the other cases, a lot of simple preparation in the beginning would have prevented a huge headache financially, operationally, logistically, emotionally.
Yeah.
Would have gone a long way. We see that all the time. Yeah. Just some simple things. And guess what? After we get them all cleaned up and back on track, guess how receptive they are to doing those simple things right away, right? Immediate. They want to get cleaned up, straightened up, and they don't want that to ever happen again.
Yeah, I think, especially with as much as how technology is so prominent nowadays. I mean, we literally walk around with computers in our hands. There's access constantly everywhere, to some form of technology, some sort of touch screen, something. But basically, it's almost like there's all these loaded weapons everywhere, and we've never showed anybody how to maintain them, clean them, use them properly, so that it doesn't become malicious or problematic, right? So I think you believe most of the issues that you face is because of a lack of education on like how to maintain these things, or because a lot of things do come down to ignorance. And again, ignorance is not a bad word. It just means you don't have enough knowledge within a certain space about a topic. But is it because we're not educating people with these things? They just see, ooh, shiny phone, let me have this, and then now next thing you know, you're ISIS is stealing your money or whatever through your PayPal app or whatever.
Yeah, you're handing an AK-47 to a toddler.
Exactly. So I mean, what do you think?
So it's funny. We just had this conversation that. Technology is moving so fast, right? They used to say Moore's law, technology doubles every 18 months. I think it's probably doubling faster than that at this point, right? The curve is steeper. And so newer products, more technology, and the technologies that are coming out, like AI, are more potent and have more use cases and are multiplying and spreading rapidly. And I think the challenge that we face, because we focus a lot on the enterprise space, large companies, mid-market to enterprise. And when you're focused on running a business, selling products, servicing customers, doing what you do for business, you're really struggling to keep up with the changes in the market, the changes in technology. And so, partnering with someone like Massive IT or, any other expert in the field is where you really want to be, at the enterprise and mid-market levels, because they're keeping up with this. We're seeing it on a day-to-day basis. We're interfacing with all the vendors, Microsoft, to learn, what's happening, what changes are coming, how to handle things, best practices, to do those simple things to protect you, right? And you're relying upon your knowledge from a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago, prior experience. The technology landscape, the security landscape has changed tenfold, 20-fold, right? It's a completely different environment than it was 1, 5, 10, or 20 years ago. So relying on that, general knowledge base is good, but things have changed so much, it's really creating a problem for those decision makers who are in those positions to try to determine which path do we take, what do we do, what do we not do, what's cost effective, what's covering us from a risk and compliance standpoint. That decision point and that process is getting more and more difficult for those businesses.
Yeah, it's great to have that foundation of like the way things were, because obviously all technology that we have now was built upon that foundation. It just kept steamrolling and evolving. But it's another thing too is it's unavoidable. This evolution is unavoidable because it's constantly being thrusted upon us. Whether you agree with AI or not, whether you want to use AI or not, whether you like Windows or not, it is what it is. It exists, and it is constantly being pushed at us. Even now we were talking about it. iOS platforms, they're forcing AI integration into it, whether you like it or not. Listen, if you want to keep using a Mac, you want to keep using an iPhone, well, guess what, buddy? You're going to have to live with some AI, even if you swear you're never going to have it in your home. So it's being forced upon us, and you kind of have to, you got to learn to swim, or you're gonna drown. So you have to reach out to experts, and you have to educate yourself. And then on your side, that's just nuts to me, to constantly be educating yourself on you have to love your field, because I'm sure not all of it is the most exciting reading when you're like, having to go through like what the newest like spyware or something coming out. I bet it's like, oh my God, I have to read this, like constantly being in a college class with what's that guy? For dry, clear eyes, try, die.
Ben eyes. Something.
Yeah, Ben. When he had a show too, it was like
he did.
Whatever, like a Jeopardy type thing. It was really good. So, but yeah, it's being forced upon us. So I mean, you sink or swim, man. You got to learn what you're doing.
It is, yeah, and that's what businesses are faced with. Is do I do this? Do I not do this? How important, how prevalent is this problem? And in the early 2000s. 90s into the early 2000s, mid 2000s, it was about feature development in the operating systems like Windows and applications like Office and other things. It was about feature development primarily.
You give some examples of that, like adding like a shop to your website or
whatever. Going, I'm going to show my age. When you go from Windows 3.1 to Windows 95 to Windows 98 to XP, right? The interface, the look and feel, how easy it was,
the usability
of it, right? Really, that was the focus in that kind of time frame.
Make it more accessible
to the masses and more appealing and more usable, especially into the business world. As you entered the mid 2000s and beyond, security began to become a problem.
Mm.
That's when the antivirus vendors came in, Symantec, Trend Micro, right, Norton, all these
Sure.
names that we know from eons ago. But now the shift has gone from just usability improvements to now security, because we've opened up so many doorways and pathways and channels to be exploited by the criminal
Malicious people.
element,
Yeah.
malicious people,
Mhm.
right? Now, whether that's just to annoy you, whether it's just to do cruel things to you, or really to take advantage of you financially or
Yeah.
otherwise, right, is anybody's guess what their intentions are. But by virtue of the technology changing and evolving, all these pathways are open to all these other different things now, and that's where you really have a difficult time keeping up.
With the man, that's just crazy. So with the current acceleration of like where technology is going, how long do you think somebody could fight it? Like if they don't want to integrate, I don't want to integrate new stuff. I like I have a business and like, look, man, I like it how it is. Can we just keep this how it is? What do we got to do? Put some kind of like, spyware blocker on there or whatever, antivirus, and how long can I just live with this? So how long can someone like essentially rebel against moving forward in technology nowadays? Not very long, I would imagine.
Well, that's a common situation in places like
That's what you're running into a
doctors'
lot.
offices and
Yeah.
things like that, who
They
have
like their charting systems
medical
and stuff.
equipment, X-ray, ophthalmology, systems that they've had for 5 years or 10 years, and those systems cost $100,000
They
to
are not
replace.
cheap. Yeah.
So it's not very motivating to want to go buy a new one
No
or
doubt.
buy the latest version of it, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa, even the manufacturers who built that system 5, 10, 20 years ago, they're not so compelled to update it,
Yeah.
right? So even if you bought the new version, it may still have the same old problems on it. So that's something that the doctors, for example, and business owners don't know enough to ask the right questions. That, hey, even if I buy the latest version of this equipment, does it have the latest software, the latest security?
How long are we good with it?
Yeah, how long will I be good with it? Have you fixed it since 30 years ago?
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, we're seeing no. So you really have to know what you're looking at. So again, you want to engage somebody who can do that, who can ask the right questions and help drive you in the right direction. And a lot of companies want to engage new technologies in business. There's one who wanted to run some field agents and have GPS location. Except regular laptops don't have GPS.
Right.
A tablet or a smartphone has a GPS,
Right.
Built into it.
Right.
And so they were getting these sort of wild results of where their people were out in the field.
Yeah.
They're like 5 miles away from where they're supposed to be. What are they doing?
Yeah.
And turns out that it was using the IP address with a geolocation database that was just out of date.
Wow.
And so it was giving kind of inaccurate results.
Just sporadic readings.
Yeah. But they didn't understand that, and the vendor didn't do a good job of explaining that.
Well, because they're a vendor. At the end of the day, it's sales and it's a business. And if I'm selling you the latest X-ray machine, right, for example, and you ask me, well, how long, have you guys been using the same, software or whatever for this? And like, I'm not going to tell you, oh man, it's been outdated for like 15 years. You shouldn't buy my machine. We're nowhere near updating, right? I'm going to say, yeah, it's been a few years, but they're going to sell you on the product. So they're not going to tell you, yeah, man, this probably ain't safe.
Yeah, and that's where the value for us comes in, is from being able to interpret and then to integrate, because we said, look, we see what the software is, we see what you're trying to do, and the problem is that it's not going to work on a laptop. You need to have a smartphone or a tablet. Ultimately, they went to iPads that had GPS built in. Now they're getting accurate location data, or will get accurate location data going forward. So again, technology is evolving and changing so rapidly that the business owner really struggled to try to understand what the vendor's even saying to them, much less try to connect the dots of, oh, we have the wrong equipment, or we made the wrong choice at the sale, et cetera, right? And now they're having to make adjustments in their business, get different hardware, more expense, more cost. It's the way it is these days. You can't avoid it. If you're going to try to take advantage of technology, which we see frequently, people saying, I don't want to upgrade, I don't want to change, but yet they get new employees and younger talent in who are used to mobile apps, smartphones, cloud-based services.
That's another thing as well, yeah.
And they need to be able to offer those features and functionality to their employees and take advantage of it in their business.
Yeah.
And the longer they fight it, the bigger that gap gets between interoperability of all the old systems that you have with all the new stuff that you're trying to leverage, but fighting moving forward completely.
Yeah, that's true as well. You're hurting the trainability of your new employees, especially if they're younger generations, because you're essentially like, they're used to all the modern technology, using the touchscreens and the operating
Cutting
systems,
edge.
and it's like, well, our charting system is DOS based, and you have to. It's like now it's like there's this massive learning curve, and the whole
what is
time
DOS?
exactly. But then the whole time that person being trained is like resistant because they're like, this is so dumb. We know there's an easier way to do this. So it brings up a lot of interesting problems. I want to touch more on this when we come back from a commercial here. So real quick, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with Michael Emdy here in studio. Don't touch that dial. Alex Lima, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify.
Hey, Tampa Bay. We're back here in studio. Alex Lima with BlackBelt Fitness and Martial Arts filling in for your consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'd like to showcase one of the properties available to you from the Platinum MVP team over at Keller Williams before we get back with Michael Emdy here. We have 14135 Cypress Circle, Tampa. Got a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-carport, 1,308 square feet, villa-style condo in Cypress Clusters at Carrollwood Village. I mean, Carrollwood, there's a lot of people, a lot of things to do in Carrollwood. It's a really nice part of town here in the Bay Area. You got the covered front porch with beautifully tiled floor. Living room flows effortlessly into the dining room. That's right, flows effortlessly into the dining room and den. Sliders off the living room lead to a screened-in patio, so those bugs can't get you. It's screened in that patio. You got a kitchen with a shaker-style cabinet, stainless steel appliances, tray ceiling, breakfast bar, and more. 14135 Cypress Circle in Tampa, Florida, right there in beautiful Carrollwood. And check out all the properties available from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams at platinummvpteam.kw.com. Back here with Michael Emdy, and we're going into the matrix, man. We're talking deep about the things that are going on in the world, making robots, artificial intelligence. I think it's gone too far. I don't like it, man. Make me feel safe. What do I got to do to feel safe, Michael?
Good luck with that. I think you really just have to realize, the world's evolving, right? We went from
it or not,
wagons and horses to cars to trains to airplanes to computers to now AI, right? The world's evolving, and you just have to evolve with it.
Yeah.
You can't stop it, right? The world doesn't stop. It doesn't care what your problems are. And you just have to realize where your threats are, where the vulnerabilities are, right? We all used to have to cover our PIN number at the ATM, right? Mm-hmm. Now you have to realize that your phone is listening to you.
Sure.
Cars. When you connect your phone to the car and it pops up that end user license agreement and you have to scroll and accept. Does anybody read it? No,
yeah, exactly.
Nobody reads it. Do you know what kind of data they're collecting on you from your car and your phone?
Yeah.
You said, yes, you can read all my contacts. Yes, you can read my text messages. Yes,
the
you
car
can
with
read my emails.
The car with the built-in GPS that always knows where you're at all times?
That's right.
Oh, okay.
And do you know where all that data is going? Back to the cloud, back to the manufacturer. So the manufacturer now has all this data. Are they securing that data and are they reading it?
We hope.
No, of course they're not reading your data. And yes, it's secure. Trust us. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you got to realize, at some point they build a treasure trove of data, Google, Facebook. And once that treasure trove of data is out there, somebody says, I just want to take a peek at it. I won't do anything bad with it. This is what happens everywhere, and history has shown us, right, time and time again, that this has happened. So you just have to realize what you have, where you have it, and are you okay giving this up to anything and anyone?
Yeah, definitely. So my question then would be for myself, for our listeners, for everybody, your advice being the massive IT sage, okay? What are some things that, I know with the big businesses, you have to keep up with the current technologies, but what about just, the soccer mom, the teenage kid? What are just some things that we can do just to be safer with our information right now?
Multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
First and foremost, number one thing. We all sometimes feel like, the bank just forced me to have a PIN number and get a text message or put it in my authenticator app. What is an authenticator app? Yeah. Right? But learn what an authenticator app is. Multi-factor authentication should be on everything. It is a 90 plus, 95, 99% guaranteed protection against an attack, against a compromise, against a data breach.
Because it's always changing. It's always changing.
Yeah, it's always changing, and it always sends you a code to say, hey, is it really you, mm-hmm. right? It's established that this device belongs to you, you are who you say you are, and I'm going to let you access this, right? There's many other things from a consumer standpoint of use a credit card because it's protected. But, at the end of the day, you may use a credit card because they'll reimburse you and you're protected from fraud. But do you want to go through the process of having to open a claim, explain the claim, back and forth?
Yeah, regardless, you're still going to go through that process. You're still going to have to call the bank, talk to them, say, hey, I think I've been hit. I don't remember this charge.
That's
There's
right.
$1,000. And it doesn't happen instantaneously that you get your money back. It takes a little bit.
That's right.
So you still have to go through emotional issues as well with this.
And if you could avoid that by just getting a code to your phone, right, you could save hours of time and frustration logistically. In the business world, you really need to have some bare minimums in place. Multi-factor authentication would be, again, number one. Number two is antivirus and malware. And three is talk to a consultant, a vendor who can help you like Massive IT, to get everything in place and get it set up and configured correctly.
Definitely. Michael, how do people reach out to you?
www.massiveit.com or sales@massiveit.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
So you heard Michael, man. It's true. So the things may seem tedious. Your your factor authentication and everything coming through your phone, the extra text messages. But it's just like having multiple locks on your door instead of having one lock for them to get through. You got the deadbolt, you got the chain, we got the guard dog, we got a bunch of things into place that makes it harder for them to come in and take what is not theirs. We have to protect what is rightfully ours always. Stay tuned. I have Dr. Scott Anderson coming up next here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. I'm your host for the day, Alex Lima, filling in for your consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. And you know what we do here? We bring in those Bay Area experts to try to educate you and make you informed, an informed consumer. We want to give you knowledge. We want to bless you. Okay. We've got my friend, Dr. Scott Anderson here sitting across from me. He's going to talk about the mental health crisis here in America and really around the world, to be honest with you. But we have to handle it here at home first, right? Before we start fixing everybody else's problems, or at least that's the way I see it. But before we do, let's go ahead and showcase some of the properties available from the Platinum MVP team over at Keller Williams. We have a beautiful home here in Spring Hill, 12377 Seagate Street in Spring Hill, Florida. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 1,608 square feet. Recent upgrades, got a new roof, got a drain field. Double front door entry, screened-in porch. Garage features sliding screen panels. I love that because I do a lot of working out and stuff in my garage, so those sliding screen panels would come in handy for sure. Kitchen has black SS appliances, double built-in ovens, and a bay window. I mean, this house is beautiful here in Spring Hill. It's got a nice pool, really pretty pool. 12377 Seagate Street, Spring Hill, Florida. Available at platinummvpteam.kw.com. Another property we want to break down for you is, of course, Archer Place, 3101 Old Archer Road in Gainesville, Florida. Brandon and Lindsay have these new pre-construction buildings going up that they're helping people to get with. There's 10% off retail right now. It's a crazy deal. Pre-construction pricing only for a limited time, 10% off. They start in the low 400s and they go up all the way to the high 900s. These places are really nice. Floor plans ranging from 1, 2, and 3 bedroom and 3 baths. 2-story penthouse with plunge pools. It's got EB5 approved community, no short-term rental restrictions. You got 1.5 miles from the University of Florida. Let's go Gators, right? 5 minutes to Shands Medical and Butler Plaza. High-end luxury amenities in the building. State-of-the-art fitness facility, resort-style temperature-controlled pool accompanied by cabanas and grills. I'd be in that gym and I'd be by those cabanas and grills. And I know Dr. Scott would hang out with me for sure.
You bet.
All right. So 3101 Old Archer Road in Gainesville, Florida. Check out all the properties available from Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes at platinummvpteam.kw.com. Dr. Scott, my man, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing very well.
Man, I'm sure, all the time, you always have someone sitting across from you and you ask them, so how are you feeling? How are you doing? I want to know, man, how are you, buddy?
Well, I can tell you, I'm very content and pleased with the way things are going.
Okay.
Not in America, but within myself.
Internally. Yeah, that's
you gotta
beautiful.
take care of yourself first,
100%,
always first,
100%.
and then work your way outward.
That's it. You gotta love yourself before you can love others. You gotta truly love yourself
before you're even capable of it.
I'm a believer in that for sure. So let's make everybody else a believer.
Yeah,
what do we do
in Costa Rica? Living the pura vida.
La pura vida. Yes, sí.
But I'm coming here to talk basically about the baseline conditions of America's health and wellness. We talk about the state of affairs and how things are going, and not so good, obviously. And it's a political year, so obviously that's horrifying.
Yeah,
so we want to take a look. What's the current state of how things are with our health and wellness amongst Americans here? And it's not good. It's abysmal. It's terrible. I did a quick,
and I would say it's blatantly obvious too. It's not like, hey, does it look kind of bad? Like, no, it's bad.
We can't avoid it anymore.
Bad.
And that's why it's getting into the forefront of media, is because you literally can't avoid it anymore. You can't sweep it under the rug. The politicians can't. So, like I said, it's at that point where it's critical mass. I'll give you some stats because I know we love to do stats on the show here.
Numbers don't lie.
74% of adults are obese and overweight. Now, I brought that stat on here a couple weeks back. 50% of children are obese or overweight.
That's horrible. That's
unacceptable. So 75,
for me, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, 75%, 3/4 of our population are obese and overweight. And I'm going to say why this is bad here. Obviously, it's self-explanatory, but 77% of Americans military age are incapable. They don't even qualify because they're unfit to serve in the military.
The baseline standard.
And
honestly, it's not incredibly difficult. It was achievable.
It is very achievable. Yeah. I mean, it's very basic, and that's with lowered standards. Yeah. 75 or 7, almost 80% of Americans. So what's going to happen to our military? And people say, oh, I don't care about the military. You better care for it because that's our security. I mean, without that, we're not a country anymore. Yeah. So you start to think about that. 50% of these adults, of grown adults in America, are pre-diabetes. I don't know if you are aware of what that is, type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, meaning that they're having physical anomalies and health risks and issues as a result of their overweight and obesity, of which 30% of teens are pre-diabetic, meaning that they're on their way to becoming diabetic. 18% of that 30% of the population, 18% of them already have what they call fatty liver disorder or disease. And basically, being in addiction, board certified in addiction, that's a disease that we used to deal with end stage or the later stage alcoholism.
Yeah, for sure.
And these are teenagers with the same physical ailments that kill and terminate the lives of alcoholics.
And just real quick for those that don't know, I don't want to give the anatomy lesson, but your liver, it's one of your main filtration systems for your body. So if that's not doing well, guess what? If the filter's not doing well, the rest of the body is soon to follow.
Absolutely. Kidneys, liver, all affected
major
by
filters.
this. Pre-diabetic, diabetic conditions, type 2, type 1, grossly affect liver, kidneys, pancreas, and so on, insulin levels, all kind. But we'll get into that in a little bit. 25% of women, we'll switch the road here. And ladies, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but 25% of women in America are on antidepressants. Which means 75% are undiagnosed. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke that I've heard before as a meme.
No, but the reality is, though, these are numbers of people that have come forth and started to try to do something
so it's
about
grossly
their
underestimated. Underestimated. Thus the joke, or attempt at it. 40% of 18-year-olds have a mental health diagnosis. They're in the system with a clinical diagnosis, primarily depression, anxiety, and substance abuse.
But still,
major. I mean, those things are progressive in nature, so that's not going to end well unless there's intervention. Cancer through the roof. This is the first time ever in our history that we're expecting 2 million cases of cancer. It's estimated that it's up in young adults. Cancer's up 80%. That's horrendous. 80%. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. These numbers, years ago, that was unfathomable.
Yeah, and again, all these numbers that I'm giving you, they're unprecedented numbers. It may go up 2% over the course of 10 years or so. To go up 80%, 74%, 50% of the population is unfathomable to me.
Yeah. Then also, though, one thing to take into consideration, once again, this is all just what's documented. These are the people that have been like, man, I'm not feeling good. I want to go to the doctor, see what's going on. How many people just like, sweep
Yeah,
it
it's
under the
grossly
rug. They don't-
underestimated.
So, I mean, these numbers they could be
It's
substantially
epidemic,
higher.
obviously,
Absolutely.
and that's why we call it a crisis
Yeah.
of mental health and stuff. And again, people think, oh, mental health is different than physical wellness, but we cover that aspect of it because they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
So we cover health and wellness, wellness including mental health. Again, highest infant maternity mortality rates in civilized the world.
Yeah.
In that is again, it's unbelievable to think that the mortality rate of infants in maternal is in the developed world is at the highest it's ever been.
It's shocking that we even have to track these numbers and these things exist to begin with, but to be at those the statistics is crazy
Yeah,
to me.
testosterone levels have been shown to go down in men precipitously over the last 25, 30 years.
And we're talking without extreme treatments.
Without
people
extreme
trying to drop
treatments.
their
Yeah, this is
testosterone.
just
what's the de-evolution, if you want to
Yeah,
say,
the
right? of what's-
default.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And then you got to look at substance abuse affects 7 out of 10 people.
Yeah.
So substance abuse is also running rampant. And you say, okay, well, basically, what is this from? Where's this coming from? And I can tell you, it all stems from the same seed. And it's probably not what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is primarily, there's multiple factors to this, but this is a disorder of metabolism, believe it or not. And you say, well, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Well, metabolic processes are the primary cause of the breakdown of or for the diabetic phase 2. What that basically means is when you have a metabolic dysfunction or metabolic disorder, that's when there's abnormal chemical reactions that break down or disrupt the body's metabolism.
Yes.
And essentially what that means is this in turn affects how well the body can break down molecules, large molecules, into energy.
All the other processes. It has a ripple
adenosine
effects.
triphosphate.
Yeah.
So basically all of the energy, all your cells' fuel is essentially is affected grossly by the metabolic dysfunction in these disorders.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of one, diabetes. Okay, why is that important? Because diabetes affects the body's production of insulin,
Yes.
which is
Attacks
what
the
gets
pancreas.
which affects how glucose gets into the cells, which fuel the body and create energy. So when that happens and the metabolic process starts to break down, severe consequences to the body occur, and that's what we're talking about. That's why the rates of cancer and all these other anomalies of health are occurring. It's essentially that, which means you're eating poison.
Exactly.
The food industry is poisoning you.
Exactly. That's what I was going to get at. So it is the metabolic process has been disrupted. What changed? Because it wasn't always like this. It wasn't always like this.
Yeah.
It is what you were intaking
You've
into your
mentioned
body.
this before when I was here.
Yes.
The food is poisoned, and it is absolutely without question. Processed foods, fast foods, the sprays that they use on foods, the sprays that they use to take insects and other parasites and stuff. All of that affects the body.
Yeah. On the toxicity from the medications that you're taking, that you're being prescribed to fix these problems that you wouldn't have if your metabolic process was on point.
Exactly.
Now every time you take a pill, your body's got to break it down. It hits that liver.
Yeah.
It hits those kidneys.
And it's toxic.
It's toxic.
The byproduct is toxic in your body. And it's hard for your body to get rid of it.
But again, it's ingested. Going back to it goes back to that metabolic process. Yeah.
The amphetamines, the energy drinks, the innocuous things that you think aren't harmful to you are.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to have a fast food restaurant. You eat that 4 times a week. You're having, 10 energy drinks. You're drinking coffee. That wreaks havoc on the body. I'm not saying you can't have that every once in a while or in moderation, but it's an overconsumption of these things have led to our health deterioration significantly.
For sure. I think if anything, if they want to ban anything, they should be banning these things. They should be banning poor food.
They're banned in other countries.
I know. It's what's so crazy to me.
In a majority of other countries, they won't eat this stuff.
I know. I know.
But they'll sell it
They
to
won't
us.
sell American food in a lot of countries. They won't
but they'll
take it.
sell us the products.
Yes, sir, they will. Going back, not to give too much of a shout out to this, but everybody, I think, years back, we remember the Super Size Me.
Yeah.
The guy that ate, and everybody's like, it's ridiculous. Who's going to eat McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Some people do, but maybe
for 30 days.
Maybe someone's not eating that specific restaurant, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but there are many people that they're eating like that.
Processed foods, frozen foods, the 7-Eleven, all those other places.
And in just that 30-day process, watch it. I highly recommend watching the film.
Absolutely.
You see, the guy was getting blood work and stuff, the metabolic changes that were happening to his body. He got sick. He was not doing well. He was depressed, and it was all from the only thing that changed, the rest of his life did not change, was what he was ingesting.
Yeah. We show a video, it's called Fed Up. If you want good information,
a lot of information, statistics that I'm getting is from the social media, but also from these videos and stuff and documentaries. Yeah. Fed Up. Watch this with your kids. And it's will open your eyes to what's going on out there. So the premise of that one, real quick, for people
is basically how the food industry is poisoning you, what's in it, how they're marking it, why they're doing it.
Okay, nice. I want to dig deeper into this. I want to take a quick break because I want to make sure that you can get to your points and get across to everything. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, going to talk to my boy here, Dr. Scott Anderson. I love how he breaks everything down. He's got a lot of excellent content on his YouTube channel. Those that are seeking help, if you think you can't afford it for whatever reason, he's got sharethelovecharities.org, and he also has a lot of free help for you available online. You definitely want to check it out. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. ConsumerQB.com. Don't touch that dial.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still here in studio. Going to get back here to Dr. Scott Anderson, but before we do, real quick, 13651 Croft Drive in beautiful Largo, Florida. Got 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage, 1,066 square feet, minutes from the beautiful Indian Rocks Beach, upgraded luxury vinyl flooring throughout. Got a naturally lit living room with sliders to a screened-in patio. That's that bug protection, right? And a fenced-in backyard. This home is pretty. It's been updated. It looks nice. It's right there in Largo, 13651 Croft Drive. And you can see all the properties available to you from Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes at platinumbppteam.kw.com. Dr. Scott, quick recap. So if someone's just tuning in, we were talking about how metabolic process, us being poisoned, they've been doing stuff to our foods, depression's up, mental health crisis. Let's talk about it.
The heart of the mental health crisis is in part not just all psychological. It has to do with the physical deterioration of the human body. In particular, most of it can be traced to an origin of metabolic dysfunction. And again, like to recap, basically that's an abnormal chemical reaction that disrupts the body's capacity for metabolism to be regulated properly. And then I gave the example of what is that, like diabetes. Okay, so diabetes affects the insulin levels, which gets glucose into your cells, which give you energy. Yep. So basic anatomy 101 and physiology. So why does that matter? Well, because if you're eating poison, which we said is the core problem, it's like an engine. If you put bad gas in it, the engine's going to run really bad and eventually it's going to break down. Same with the body, just tenfold, because there's millions and millions of chemical processes that need to happen. When you eat processed foods, frozen foods, when you have restaurant foods, all that stuff, and you're not doing it every once in a while, you're doing it every day, what happens is your body is going to get sick.
Yep. And
these metabolic process breaks down, and then that causes these disorders, which is going to obviously increase cancer. It's going to increase obesity.
All disease processes.
All of it. And that's what it stems from. So all of these disorders primarily come from what you're eating. Yeah. And what you're eating is toxic.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's dangerous. How do we fix that? Because I know you always ask that question, and you know just as well as I do, probably from common sense, that it's exercise, eating properly. You can't eat fast foods every day. A couple times a week, that's fine. I wouldn't suggest it, but if you do, great. You can't be sucking down energy drinks all day long and 4 cups of coffee. You can't be eating all these frozen foods and fast foods and store-bought foods like that. you have to, when I say store-bought, I mean Wawa's and those types of places.
Yeah,
Not that
basically anything that when you pick up the box, you don't understand half the ingredients, you can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
Keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, it's simple. Go to the grocery store and buy organic, normal foods and cook. Learn to cook. Or
huge.
Pay somebody to, or buy the pre-processed made foods. But it's just the frozen foods, the processed foods, the fast foods. You got to stay away from that. And exercise. Be active. Get out. If you don't like to go to the gym, then be active. Swim, ride a bicycle, walk, jog. Get out there in the beautiful Florida sunshine and enjoy.
Yeah.
Now that monsoon season's over. So,
yeah, exactly.
But for the most part, that's going to be the cure. That's going to be the cure.
Yeah. A lot of those things hit home what you said, because I preach a lot of that to my my clients when it comes to training and stuff. The ones that care about diet and nutrition. Some people come just because they want to learn how to punch and stuff like that. But the ones that take it a step further and want just an overall better lifestyle, I always say you can't out-train a bad diet.
No.
It's not conducive to your goal. No matter how hard you work out, if you're eating like crap, you will never come close to the results that you think you're going to get. And then now hearing you, I firmly believe you can't outlive a bad diet either.
No, and a healthy body means a healthy mind.
Yes.
It's the foundation for it.
Your vessel,
Without that, you can't have a healthy mind. How are you going to think properly? And brain fog, fatigue, sleep problems, those are the biggest complaints I hear.
For sure.
That's all from food.
I know. It's and it's I always say that the mind, body, and spirit has to be clean, has to be strong, has to be balanced.
Yeah.
And
got to remember, you're multidimensional: physical, emotional, cognitive, spiritual, social. If you don't address all of those parts of how you function, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Absolutely. And I think part of the problem is we live in a society that needs such instant gratification.
Yep.
So the thing is, if you tell somebody that's been eating like crap for whatever, their whole life, okay, and we say, hey, look, start eating cleaner, you're not going to feel it right away. It's not like tomorrow you're going to wake up and be like, oh man, thank God I ate salad yesterday. No, it's going to take time for that metabolic process the body has to reset.
It takes 6 months to a year for the body to really respond. And you got to remember, these kids are indoctrinated into eating. They eat crappy if the parents eat crappy.
They're not the ones buying the groceries.
Never where you're going to find a kid where the parents are very healthy, active, and eat well, and then the kid eats like garbage.
Yeah, the kids
it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what's in the home. So out of sight, out of mind. Don't have the crap in your home. I'm with it. Dr. Scott, how do people get a hold of you, buddy, real quick?
You can go to sharethelovecharities.org, or you can go to Addiction Recovery Care of Tampa.
Yeah.
Or you can just Google Dr. Anderson Addiction. I'm all over the place.
Or call the show hotline, 727-263-3707. I will personally make sure you get a hold of Dr. Scott if you're trying to get a hold of him. Okay. Thank you so much for being with us. We want to, again, challenge you always. Spread positivity. There's enough negativity in the world. Commit a random act of kindness. If you don't want to go out there and do a random act, look, then just be good to the people you know. All right. We'll see you next time. ConsumerQB.com.